and welcome to the virtual University of Oxford Open Day, and welcome to Trinity's Frequently Asked Questions video. We are 6 students from Trinity College, Oxford, and we're here to answer some of your most frequently asked questions at our Open Days. If you have any further questions you'd like to ask, or more specific questions on anything we bring up, do use the online chat rooms, which will be open as you're watching this right now, and you'll get to talk to us, literally, and the other lovely student helpers we have at Trinity will be able to answer your questions. But for now, let's get into the video. The first question we have is, what is Trinity like?
Yep, so I can take this one. Trinity is a medium-sized college with a small undergraduate population. In terms of what it's like, first of all, where's it located? Trinity is the best located college in all of Oxford. It's dead centre, right in the middle of Oxford, Broad Street, and with gated access onto Broad Street directly, as well as 2 other roads, St Giles and also Parks Road, which gives you great access to other colleges, nearby access to lecture halls, facilities, and so on. In terms of what we have on site, Trinity has common rooms for undergraduate students and graduate students for each of them. There is a single kitchen that all the undergrads share and a single kitchen that graduate students will share. We have a college bar, a beer cellar that's used for a wide variety of activities and as a resting spot for students in the evenings. We have a multi-faith chapel used for choir and various forms of religious and non-religious celebration, as well as a music practice room, both of those giving opportunities for people to practice. There are various rooms for functions that we offer, and meetings and gatherings for students and external individuals alike. One of the things we have right now in particular is a temporary building, the Lawns Pavilion, which includes a large reading room, even more function rooms going on, spaces, and a little kitchen in there. We also have a college surgery used for consultations with the college nurse, college GP. There is, of course, a library. All students will have access to laundry rooms. There is a single laundry room used for the entire college. However, off-site properties will also have their own. And we have 2 gyms. There is a weights gym and a small cardio gym with largely treadmills, bikes, and so on. And you absolutely can't go without saying our lawns are absolutely fantastic lawns located right at the back of Trinity. Is a wonderful facility. Something worth mentioning that will be in place by the time that you're arriving is there's a new building coming up. The Levine building will contain a large lecture hall and auditorium used for teaching, but also drama, various activities, as well as a cafe area, extra teaching spaces, extra room, and more function rooms. So as far as facilities, Trinity is definitely well stocked.
I'll take over and just say a bit about sports. So Trinity is like a small college, so we've got a really nice student community, and with that comes quite a lot of sports to go with it. So we offer like quite a lot of teams. We've got teams like rowing, football, rugby, and netball. At the start of there's a freshers fair at the start of your freshers week, and so all the team captains will have their stands for you to go around and have a look what's on offer. And in addition to the gyms that Conrad mentioned, we've got a squash court, tennis courts, and then we've got like playing fields for football and rugby. And I know the football one has like a big pavilion as well, which you can use sort of on occasion to have like a barbecue or whatever, maybe after you finish the season. But yeah, it's really good.
What is accommodation like at Trinity College?
So I'll take this one. So you get accommodation for the whole course, but your first 2 years of your undergraduate course, you're on site. You're living on site in the college, and the next 2 years, or if you were doing a 3-year course, you'll be living off site. But it does mean that you never have to go private when going for accommodation. In first year, in terms of what room you get, it's completely randomised. So some people get a larger room than other people, and it's completely random. Some people have an ensuite. Extreme few people might have a double bed. And then in second year, there's a ballot where names are picked out of a hat, and if your name comes out first, then you have first pick on the types of rooms for second year. And second year, there's a lot of single rooms. And whereas in first year, all of the rooms are single. And in second year, alongside the single rooms, there's some really nice double set rooms, which are 2 bedrooms that have a shared living room. So you still have your own like private bedroom, but you only have that massive living room to share with. And they're really nice in Trinity. It's quite special about that. And you get to choose who you live with. And then third and fourth year, the accommodation's about a 5-minute cycle away, and so about 20-minute walk, 22 minutes to the other building. And those rooms are really nice. I lived in one of them last year. And the cycles, 5 minutes is not too bad. In terms, one thing about living on site, so the first 2 years, is during the vacation, so between your first and second term, and between second and third term, and then when you go for summer, you would have to vacate from your room. So you like take all of your stuff out, and then bring your stuff back for the next new term. But if you live off-site, so like in third and fourth year, you won't have to do that. So you can just stay from October till June and then take your stuff out in summer. Yeah.
Okay, I'll talk a little bit about how rooms will be allocated if you have any additional requirements. So Siam explained how the ballot system works in second year. Same thing applies for future years after that. But if you have any needs which mean you need a certain type of room, like if you need a ground floor room, or you have to have an ensuite, or you need a room that's a bit bigger because you've got medical equipment, or you need a fridge, you can just get in touch with college before you start, and they can make sure that you get a room that's suitable for you. And then throughout second, third, and if you have a fourth year, you can essentially apply to have a room like that. And then you don't go on the ballot system. So you just get to have the room that's appropriate for you, and you don't have to go through the whole balloting system.
I'd just also quickly like to add that so all of accommodation is essentially charged at a flat rate, and importantly, there are really no room tiers. So although there are some slight differences in the room, these aren't tiered. All rooms are essentially going to be of like comfortable quality. They'll always have a bed, desks, storage, and importantly at Trinity, a mini fridge as well. So yeah, it's great everywhere.
Our next question is quite an important one. What is the food like at Trinity?
The food at Trinity is amazing. We've got a couple kitchens, which Conrad mentioned earlier. I think Thierry's going to talk about a bit too. And then we've got our hall as well, which every college have, but ours is definitely top tier. So every weekday we serve breakfast and lunch, really cheap, really, really nice. And then on the weekends we have a brunch from 10:30 to 12:30. For dinner, 3 days a week it's self-service, so you kind of queue up and just choose out of a couple options what you'd like. And then on Mondays, Wednesdays and Sundays we've got formals, which are they're really cheap. I think they're like £4 or £5. You just throw a gown over whatever you're wearing and turn up, and you'll have like a really nice 3-course meal, weighted service, and from like a set menu. And yeah, you could have a really nice time with your mates, maybe just socialising that. And then on Fridays we have guest night, which is another formal, though that's a bit more expensive. I think that's £18 a ticket, but they're really, really delicious. There's 4 or 5 courses, and I definitely recommend trying to go to at least like one a term. They're really good fun. So then for going back to breakfast, it's really cheap. You get pretty much everything you'd want there, like fruit, cereal, and a pay per item full English that probably would add up to about £2.50 if you wanted to get everything. And then lunch and self-service dinner have around 10 options to choose from, and they're always like absolutely delicious, and they'll always cater to any dietary requirements. I know Thierry is going to say a little bit about that as well. And yeah, same applies for formals as well. Any dietary requirements are always accounted for. Yeah.
Food's banging.
Yeah, so I'm going to talk a little bit more about the how Trinity caters for dietary requirements. So like Connor said, there are loads of options when you go to eat for the self-service meals, so lunches and those 3 evening meals. So for the quite common dietary requirements like vegetarianism, veganism, people who need gluten-free food, there's usually an option already on the menu. And actually for vegetarians, there's often 4 or 5 options, 2 or 3 vegan options. So it's a really good choice of food. For slightly more uncommon dietary requirements, one thing that Trinity Hall is really good at doing is publishing on the menu what is the content of all the meals. So they've got a kind of color-coded system of all of the common and even quite uncommon allergens, and each menu option has got a little color-coded thing to tell you what's in there. And if you have an additional dietary requirement that needs to be considered on top of that, then you can just talk to the hall staff and they can try and find a way to cater for you. This also applies for formals. So you book into formals online, and if you say that you have dietary requirements on that form, then they can cater for that and you'll get served something that's okay for you to eat. We are also trying to get halal food in hall. It's something that the JCR committee, many of the people on this Q&A have been pushing for a while, and we're getting really close. So hopefully that will be in place by the time anyone who's watching this applies and comes to Trinity. For people who don't want to have whole food, which is totally fine, although whole food is amazing, you might want to cook for yourself. We do have kitchens. So we have one kitchen that's shared among the whole JCR, so all of the undergrads, which has your classic kind of hobs and ovens and microwave and everything. And then we also have some smaller like mini kitchens spread around that just usually have a microwave and toaster, but not an oven or a cooker. So people often make kind of small meals in there, and then we'll go to the main JCR kitchen. Conrad mentioned the Levine building, which is being built. And one of the things that that's going to bring is more kitchen facilities for undergraduates. So that'll be a really good addition, because it's always nice to have like a communal space to cook with people. And I think it'd be nice to spread that out in different places among college. The final thing is that if you have any dietary requirements that make it harder for you to go to hall, or you need to cook most of your meals yourself, you can ask college for a special exemption to be allowed a microwave in your room, which normally isn't allowed. So then you'd be able to cook more meals for yourself without leaving your room if you are going to struggle to go to hall.
What is student support like at Trinity, from things ranging to academic support to pastoral care?
Yeah, I'll start this one off by saying you're going to hear from the others plenty about college and what they do to offer support. But one thing we have at Trinity, which Tiri's already alluded to, is the Junior Common Room Do Elect a Committee. And so there come about 30 people roughly in total, mostly elected by other students or appointed by other students, who are there to represent student interests and aim to provide support. So we have welfare representatives to provide student support and welfare, access, environment and ethics, and academic affairs to help with academic measures specifically, and so on. And there are a wide range of people in this. A equalities committee to help students who are specifically identifying as BAME, first generation LGBT, and so on. So there is lots of student support that comes from other students themselves in the form of the JCR, and we put on events, provide various sort of opportunities, provide information, and are a link between the student body and college themselves. But that's student side.
So one of the things that Conrad mentioned there is kind of welfare support, and it's something that we do within the JCR and also that college provides. So welfare is really important. It's really important that we all look after each other and that we can access support from college and from the wider university, because, you know, it's sometimes a difficult time going to university, moving out for the first time, lots of studying pressures with friends. So I really like there's a lot of support available, and I think it's really important that we talk about that so people know how to access it. So we have welfare reps who are elected undergraduate students who are on the JCR committee, and they are basically a really good point of contact for undergrads to go and talk to about any problems that they're having. They also run kind of proactive welfare events. There's usually a welfare tea every Friday where they go and buy loads of food and everyone can come and eat it and have a little chat, have cups of tea together. There are also peer supporters who are often some of the same people as the welfare reps, but there's a wider group of them. And they've undergone 24 hours of training by the university in how to be an effective kind of peer counsellor supporter. Obviously, they're not highly trained professionals, but they can be a really good point of contact for someone who's just feeling a bit down, not really sure what to do about something. And they're a really great service that we've got, actually. And it helps that they're students, so they feel very much like on your level. We also have lots of staff who help with welfare. So we have a wellbeing advisor who's kind of our head person for welfare. She's called Claire Parker, and she is a really good kind of signposting point of contact, helping solve practical issues to do with welfare. Like if you need an accessible bedroom, like I talked about earlier, that's who you would go to talk to about it. And can also help provide you with services that the university provide, and also signposting you to maybe local NHS services, charities, that sort of thing. There is a university counselling service that's sort of central university, but lots of colleges kind of buy into that, so students can go to the counselling service. We also have a college counsellor who comes to Trinity, I think 1 day a week, and you can book in to see him at Trinity if you don't want to go down to the counselling service. So that really kind of, I think it makes counselling more accessible, brings it into the college, makes it so people don't have to travel as far, don't have to kind of plan the whole week around it. But some people also do prefer going to the counselling service. And I think it's a really well-used service that needs to be talked about more than it is, because it's really useful. So that's pretty much everything I've got on welfare, but there are almost like an infinite number of people involved in welfare in college, even in sort of smaller ways, and also people in the wider university that you can access if you want to go outside of Trinity for your welfare support.
Yeah, another route of welfare that especially you'll use, especially when you first come, is like when you get your offers and you get all the stuff in the mail from Trinity, you'll be introduced to your college parents. And these are two or three students in the year above who are kind of just your like kind of initial mentors and stuff at the start of your time here, who you can go to for any advice or just pointers if you need a bit of help with like the first essay you do, or just kind of where to buy Subfusk, or any little things that you're not quite sure about how to go around doing. You can just go to them. They'll have like all the experience of going through first year themselves, and so they're just really convenient ways just to get some advice and stuff. Yeah, and then moving on to kind of academic support. If for whatever reason you may be struggling, kind of for any reason at all, I think it's a really good idea to let your tutors know that you might not just be working at 100% that week. Most of the tutors have been tutors at Oxford for like a number of years, and quite a lot of them also went to Oxford themselves. So they really do know the struggles that you might face when you're here and how it might affect your work. So yeah, if you struggle at all, just definitely let them know, and they'd always be as supportive as possible. And I think like Oxford has really short terms, like only 8 weeks, and then we get like 6 weeks for a vacation. So if you did have something that happened in term time and you missed an essay, or you weren't happy with the piece of work, there's a lot of time to kind of catch up in the vacations and sort that out. But the tutors are really supportive, and yeah, I'd definitely recommend, if you do run into any problems, no matter how small, to let them know.
So for care leavers and students who are estranged, colleges are really flexible, essentially, to students' circumstances, and essentially what they do is that if you are a care leaver or you're estranged, you are allowed to stay in college for beyond term. You can stay there for the entire year, so whether that's Christmas, Easter, or the summer vacation. There's also colleges will support you in your application to grants. I know that from personal experience. So there's an estranged student and care leaver bursary of up to £3,000 that students can apply for. So they support you in your application for that. And yeah, that's what I have to say.
This is a question that comes up every now and again, and is definitely subject to the rumour mill, especially at school. How hard is it to get into Trinity, considering how many people apply or how many places there are at the college?
So essentially, it's essentially a myth of being hard to essentially get into. There's no such thing as a hard or easy college to get into. So applying to a smaller college or a bigger college will not disadvantage you at all. The best advice I can essentially give you is pick the college that you would prefer to go to, as you can like make a preference. So look into their facilities, how accessible it is, the accommodation, etc. Like essentially whatever college perhaps best fits your needs.
Our final question for this FAQ video is, why did you pick Trinity? And we will all actually answer this question with our own reasons. And I will go first. I used the Student Union's College Suggester website, which I've just checked does still exist. So you can have a look at that. You basically put in what you're looking for in a college in terms of the size or how much green open space there is, and it will sort of spit out the colleges that fit that description. I did that, and then I visited those colleges on open day. And when I visited Trinity, I just liked it. I didn't really want to think too deeply about it. I just felt like it was right, and then I just went with that.
Yeah, kind of similar. I knew I wanted a small college because I wanted a sort of homely sense of community. So that narrowed it down to about 4 or 5 for me. And I visited them all, and Trinity passed the vibe check with flying colours. And so that was the one I was like, yeah, this is what I'm applying for.
For me, I went to open day and I had a look through quite a few colleges. I wasn't really completely sold on any of them. I hadn't looked at Trinity at that point, so I just kind of did a casual kind of cross reference for like the number of tutors in biochemistry, my subject, and how kind of close it is to the department. And so I came up with a list of like 4 or 5, and then one day over summer I just visited Oxford and like asked to have a look around all of these colleges, and Trinity was just the one that I fell in love with. Like the lawns are so beautiful, like the quads are like amazing, and I could see myself being here for the next 4 years. So I applied there.
For me, the reason I chose Trinity was I think Broad Street is my favourite street in Oxford. It's just like and Trinity's on Broad Street, and coming out of college and onto Broad Street is just such a beautiful view every morning, or going into college. And what I really liked about Trinity on open day was that open day or during the year in Oxford, the city centre where Trinity is so busy, and it's really nice if you want to go into that kind of busy work environment in the city centre if you're working in a cafe. But what I like about Trinity and a lot of the colleges in the centre is that you just sort of slip through this door and you're in this really quiet, peaceful environment, which is college, and where there's like no noise, like no people, and it's a completely different work environment if you want to work in the library in college. And I really liked being able to sort of hop in and out of that campus and city lifestyle. And I think because of the location of Trinity being right in that city centre and on Broad Street, it was really nice. Yeah.
So I actually didn't apply to Trinity, but for me, when I was looking at applying as a disabled student, the most important thing for me was having a college that's accessible, because if I didn't have that, then there was kind of no point in applying to Oxford. So I actually applied to St John's because the most important accessibility point for me was being about halfway between the centre of town and the medical school to like limit walking time. And I didn't visit Trinity at open day. I mean, there are so many colleges at Oxford, it's quite easy to not see one. And the first time I went into Trinity was when I was being interviewed, because medical students will always be interviewed by 2 different colleges. And I ended up getting an offer from Trinity and not St John's. And actually it's been great. I mean, it's not, a lot of people end up at colleges that they didn't apply to, and I think everyone that I've met ends up liking the college they're at anyway. And from an accessibility perspective, I was really lucky. Trinity shares an entire wall with St John's. It's in almost exactly the same place. So that feature for me was the same. I could have applied to Trinity based on location as well. Completely agree with what Conrad said earlier, that Trinity is the best located college. And actually, I like that Trinity's a little bit smaller, and there's just a kind of a really good sense of community because there's few enough people that you can actually get to know everyone. So yeah, I didn't apply to Trinity, but I'm very happy that I got here.
So for me, I essentially applied mainly because there was guaranteed accommodation for the 4 years, and not all colleges do that. So I just personally didn't want to deal with renting privately, just to make things easy for myself. So that was the main reason. And also when I came to visit Trinity, they were just quite lovely people helping out on open day. So it just felt like quite the right college for me.